Yo, everyone, how's it going? How's it going? Making sure everything is working quick. We'll get to it. So for now, you're stuck with a big. Let's see here. But to it. So for now, you're stuck with a big. Okay, but I'm a little quiet, which I have to fix that really quick. Pull the mic up a lot closer. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Much better, much better. Okay. We're good. I think. Oh yeah, there we go. Much better. Okay. We're good. Yeah, okay, we're good. Audio's working, video's working. How's everyone doing today? Alright. Whoop. So obviously we're gonna be talking about the MonsterArts Godzilla Final Wars Heat Ray version versus the new Gotengo set. I did previously talk about this and a little bit about the Japanese release in my Tamashii Nation's 2025 stream, but of course I kind of felt like doing a full live stream just on the figure like we normally do, you know, have the discussion, give it its time, actually go through the promos. So hey James, how's it going? Thank you. I'm doing very well. I hope you're doing it well. You know, streaming a little bit later tonight, but we're doing good. Hanging out. Legion review is very much underway. It's kind of at the point where I can't start over again this time, guys. So I promise Legion's review should be out hopefully by the weekend. There was a way I considered changing it, but I just filmed way too much this morning. You know, reshooting. I think I got the lighting I like, that I like on her on video to not like make her look too bright, but also not to like mess with the color. So I think I got like as close as she can look in hand. Is how I think I got the lighting. Besides the metallics on her kind of being pretty reflective. So I'm very excited to get that out to you guys. I thank everyone for being patient on that. But like I said, I am quite a ways into it, so not quite as far as I'd maybe like to be, but there's not much left. It's just articulation, the box, and then flying form transformation, and then going through the transformation or the flying form, and then we're done. So getting close to done. Like I said, probably gonna be like Thursday or Friday, because it was this morning before I went to bed. I worked on it for about two hours, I think, messing around with lighting and stuff. That took an hour, and then I did an hour of filming, which I only have about maybe 5 minutes of usable content, which is about what it takes, you know, doing it over and over and trying new things and stuff. So yeah, now I have to figure out how I want to do articulation. That's probably going to take an hour or two in and of itself. And then the flying form is going to take however long it takes. But tonight, if you guys are a fan, if you guys are watching Has Been Hotel, basically at 2 a.m. tomorrow, but in a few hours, those episodes drop, so I'll be at work. So I'll be on episode drop nights the last few weeks. I've been changing how I do my breaks, although I don't think I'm going to be able to finish both episodes at work. Last episode is longer, so we'll see. So if and even if I do, then I typically watch them like one or two times once I get home on the TV, so I can actually see what's going on. So we'll see. I might just save these two for the morning, just because they're, you know, like an hour together, I believe. I think it's like an hour finale technically between both episodes. So yeah, so we'll see how much I can work on Legion. All that to say is I don't know how much I'm going to be able to work on Legion until I wake up tomorrow. So because I'll probably be watching those, and I can't film and watch things at the same time. The TV puts too much light into here, so even if I have the light box going at full blast, you can still see like the colors and everything happening on the TV screen, and it shows up in photos, which sometimes accidentally makes a really cool photo lighting, but it doesn't work for reviewing where I want, the same consistent lighting. So that way when I'm moving the figure around, you can see her as clear as day. So, or equally as clearly across her whole form. So I'm showing things, good things and bad things. Not that there's a lot of that on Legion, but there's a few minor things, a few little tidbits, that I have to point out. So I'm excited for the review. This is gonna be, I think, a very professional review for me. So I think we'll see, but I'm excited. So thank you guys for taking time and hanging out and stuff. I appreciate it. I really, really do. And just being patient, waiting for the review. But we're not here to talk about Legion, even though I spent the first 4 minutes or so talking about Legion. I apologize. I just wanted to keep you guys updated because we're going into the third week of having it and no review. So, but I promise it will hopefully be worth the wait. So we'll see. I'm really, really trying hard to do multiple different things here for the Legion review to kind of showcase what's going to be continuing on. I'm trying to find that new model, so make the reviews a little bit more professional. So, but today we want to talk about the Final Wars Godzilla set here, the Final Wars Godzilla Heat Ray and new Gotengo set. So I was pretty quiet on it yesterday because I just wanted it to deal with itself, and there was some oopsie with some pricing stuff, which I actually didn't bring up my examples for, so let me grab those real quick. Oopsie. I knew I forgot something today. Speaking of trying to be more professional, I wanted to show these off. So yesterday morning when I woke up, or I guess that was afternoon for most people, but morning for me, yesterday afternoon, about 1 or 2 o'clock when I woke up, I noticed that people were posting that Big Bad Toy Store put the pre-order prices up for the Final Wars set. I do remember seeing it the first time, and I was like, "There's no way that's real." There's just no way. Which, there was a way because it was real. Where's the other photo? Okay, we'll just use the one that I was using yesterday, which is a screenshot. Okay. Okay. And this one. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I'm attempting to be more professional. I'm not winning all the time, but we are trying. So this is a screenshot from Instagram. This is from the articulation series. I believe his name is Michael. I've been over the last year and a half really, really following the YouTube and the live streams and stuff. So I'm a big fan. I like watching live stream. I like asking questions. I like how much info he puts into these figures. He basically takes everything that Tamashii Web in Japan gets that we can't get in the US unless you have a VPN and you change your servers, because they post full breakdowns of these figures and interviews, and they say who sculpts it and stuff, and sometimes we don't get that with the English releases. Now, obviously here they're it's Yuji Sakai because they throw him, but sometimes they're not always clear on Yuji or Wakasa, or a few of the other regular sculptors or collaborator sculptors that are in this line. So Articulation Series likes to put all of that in there, and then gets the Japanese retail and the US retail. So, all of this to say, yesterday I saw this screenshot that he has here, which is Big Bad Toy Store saying this isn't coming out until July, and it was $293.99. People were freaking out over it because they're like, whoa, why is it this expensive? At retail, or it was 19,000 yen for Japan. So why is it, if you do an exact just decimal movement for a currency conversion, and then you're adding an extra 100 on top of that. So people were understandably a little mad when I first saw it. Like, I was surprised, but then I was like, it's just a placeholder. Obviously, this isn't what Bandai is like asking. And then I sat on it. I saw it in one of my group chats, that I'm in, and I was like, I guess maybe that's the tariff. Maybe something's happening that we don't know yet. That's not public, but we're gonna start seeing in these prices. And then obviously, it fixed itself. So this was Articulation series saying that sometimes Big Bad Toy Store posts their own solicitation before actual U.S. distribution sends them official solicitation. The reason this is so much is because they are assuming that they're going to import it and middleman for you. At the time of this post, Bandai has not officially solicited Godzilla 2004 Heat Ray version versus New Gotengo in the United States yet. Once that happens, they'll reduce the price between 180 to 200 depending on the official MSRP. Please share this message with our community members. So obviously I did my part yesterday. I shared it, in group chats. I went through DMs. People were talking about it, asking me, because, now that I'm kind of back being the MonsterArts guy and buying MonsterArts, consistently, at least in my friend groups, I have a lot of people, like, if they got questions, and obviously people are like, this isn't like, we all see the MonsterArts hate, and, some people in the group chat aren't the biggest fans themselves, but they can be realistic and be like, they don't just hate to hate if there's a problem. So if this was retailing for $290, that's a actual reason to be mad. Where, obviously it ended up, it's supposed to come out in June, at the end of June, assumably, and then it's only $189, which is actually less than I thought it was going to be. I told you guys I thought it would be $210. Now I do think this $189 doesn't have the tariff attached to it, officially and unofficially. Big Bad Toy Store doesn't have a notice saying that this excludes the tariff price. I don't think, if tariffs are still around by then, hopefully not. I don't think this is going to go down. I think this is because I think if it had the tariff built in, it'd be like 210, 200, $200. That's what I said. So, but it ended up being $10 cheaper. So that's a win. I still see some people being mad about it. We'll bring it up right here really quick. So, like I said, BBTS has it for $189. Remember, at the beginning of the year, this got reissued. So here's your base figure that was released in 2022, 2023, $99. So if the base figure is $99 and this new version is a $189, we have to break down what the price difference is. Like, why is it this much? Well, one, it's a Tamashii web, so it has a premium price on it, so you put $10-$20 on there, so that drops it down to $169. So then it's $99 up to $69, no pun intended. New Gotengo, so brand new mold, brand new sculpt. I believe both of them are sculpted by Yuji Sakai. So this is Yuji Sakai's sculpt for the Gotengo, which I'll bring up right here. This beautiful thing right here. We get a vehicle. We get the fancier robot Tamashii stand. It's like barely $1 or $2, so I barely, I don't want to really consider that. I think that just includes here. But this is like $40-$50 by itself. People don't want to assume that, but if this released by itself, it'd probably be like $40. And then obviously we have the beam. And then this is a new base as well. So this is a new beam and a new attack base. This one looks like it's able to move the arm around, which is my main problem with the old one that I have right here, is that you can't go backwards with it. You can't go this way, it stops it, and then it bends it. You have all the front movement, but you have no back movement. And this looks like it's going to be the opposite, where it's going to be cut, but it's still going to be able to go farther, but then it's going to be able to go all the way, lay flat. So you can do like beams like this. So it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be easier to do like crouch down beams, or like if you're doing like a really like, you know, you got Godzilla on the ground and he's blasting upwards from the ground, it's going to be easier to balance it out if you can get the arm down and lower like that. And depending on like your photography skills, you know, to hide the arm in your photographs, or if you're doing it for a stop motion, might be, you know, you can just hide the beam altogether, you know, this beam, and then you don't even have to edit it out. So you got that, and then obviously the paint job as well. The paint job is a little bit of it is metallic reds, you know, they're fancy. So I don't know, like 60-70 bucks added on when you consider the Gotengo, the heat ray, the paint on the body itself, which is, by the way, all the way down to the tip of the tail and in the mouth. And then the fact that it's a premium, you know, so that's kind of the price breakdown for it. Now, obviously, if you still don't like it, that's absolutely fair and valid. That's just kind of how I look at it. So I really think we won with the 189. I think this is a good deal. Now, I'd also like to point out I'm not sponsored by anyone here, so I'm just, you know, I'm using the retail sites. So here's BBTS. Obviously, here's the reissue. You can risk it if you want with it, but don't have to. It's still in stock at Hobby Genki. Now, you have to pay for it all the way. It doesn't have pay later available anymore. They take that down after a few days. But it is $149, and then if shipping and tariffs stay the same as estimated, or I should say the shipping stays the same, I only ended up paying $190 for mine from Hobby Genki. So that's minus the tariff. So if there ends up being a tariff, we'll still have a little bit more. But the tariff is only, you know, the 145. So 25 bucks, you know, maybe, hopefully. So if tariffs are even still around in June of next year, because this won't get in my hands till June. This releases in May, but doesn't come out till June for Japan. So, which once again, important to note, this doesn't, they're saying June, end of June, beginning of July for US is what this means. So BBTS has been pretty accurate, but the MonsterArts US releases get a little wonky in the summer. I don't know if the ports just get busy, so things get delayed a little bit. Like Anguirus was delayed till July this year, but then we also had tariff stuff as well. So like, you know, it was kind of like a double slammy. But so if you want to import it from Japan, you want to run the risk of maybe having like a $15, $20, $25, $30 tariff on top of that. So you'd be spending about $220 to import it, but you'd be getting it, you know, that was with FedEx, not DHL. DHL was a little bit more expensive. I believe DHL was like $80, but that had the tariff built in as well. So, but FedEx is normally only like a 3-day shipping instead of 2-day, you know, technically. So I didn't really feel like I lost a lot with shipping on speed. So I'm pretty happy with this though. But you can pre-order it here, $19 deposit. If you want to pre-order it and then just pay it off later altogether, Entertainment Earth does have it as well. Now they say July. They're still saying November for their Legion run, and they haven't gotten their Legions in yet. So if you guys are looking for Legion, I saw some people asking about Legion. Actually can still get it at Entertainment Earth. Now mind you, after shipping, this is going to be about, you know, closer to 700, but as we might all know at this point, this figure is actually not, it's just not around anymore. It's sold out at basically everywhere else. There's a few other smaller shops as well that are kind of up, and there's a few on eBay. I believe there's 1 or 2 on Buy if you wanted to import, but I would not recommend. This is probably going to be your cheapest spot to get it. So Entertainment Earth. But they also have the Gotengo if you guys like ordering here. They already got it up. E-Night Media does not have theirs up yet, so we'll go back to BBTS because they've, well, you know, their photo, well, no, we'll go back here. Articulation Series has the best photos because he has the HD, the premium photos directly from Tamashii. So, oops. So yeah. This looks good, guys. I'm pretty excited about this release personally. I know I've been kind of rambling on. I apologize. I'm very excited about this release. Um, Final Wars, we've had some rough love with this figure this year, and even the first time we got it as well. Here's my version of the reissue. If you're thinking about one or the other, just get this one. It more than likely will not have the same QC issues that this one has when it comes to joints. And if it has those fixed and it has a kick-ass paint scheme, as long as his mouth is done correctly, and the eyes are done correctly, like this is gonna look so pretty. And then you're also getting the Gotengo. You're getting an accessory and a vehicle, and two stands. So I would say it's worth it just to pay the extra money to get this instead of getting the regular reissue. This was kind of a surprise announcement from Tamashii. This wasn't like on my board. I was not guessing a new Final Wars Goji. So the other nice thing about this release is this could be hinting at what's to come next. So we technically we're in the realm of a MonsterX Decisive Battle version, and then obviously the big looming moment, as depicted right here, is that Kaiser Ghidorah could also be announced at some point. Hey Joey, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. So, but we'll see. Nothing's confirmed yet, I don't think. And obviously, we didn't get shown Kaiser at Tamashii Nation. So, which, I kind of said last week I might do like a follow up, like a finale stream for the Tamashii Nations reveals. I think if I do that, I'm going to wait till the weekend. Just to give it like a week, just so I can swallow everything. We won't include Final Wars on that. It'll just be the prototypes that were revealed. And then, I shouldn't have gotten the recent reissue. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of got punked into that. Obviously, I would have went for both anyways. But anyone who would just want one or the other, it kind of hurts, because I would say this is probably the one to go with. This will have the better joint tolerances. The eyes weren't as bad on the reissue, so one thing I do think they improved with this figure over the reissue, though. Let's see, can I get a good... I mean, that photo shows it pretty well. It's not, like, the best. I do think they painted the eyes... Well, see, here they don't look as big. Some of the other photos, the eyes look a little bit larger, and I think that's what would really help the eyebrow situation. I think they make the pupils so small it looks weird, but I think if they just made it a little bit larger, it'd look better. So I don't know. Maybe you guys are agreeant, maybe not. That's just kind of how I've been looking at it. I think it would look better with larger eyeballs. See, like here on this side, it looks a little bit larger, and I think that looks better, but maybe not. I love the inner mouth paint. If this is done right, and they look like this, we are in really good shape. If this is what the final product looks like. The teeth are a little gummy up here. You can see the paint kind of bleeds through on the front. But I mean, like, you could say that's the light, the radiation, shining through. So I personally, I'll be okay if it's a little sloppy as long as the fronts of the teeth look mostly okay. Obviously, the beam's the brightest at the back. So, do you think they'll use the new on future releases? I think hopefully moving forward, every Godzilla, new release Godzilla will be including that. This won't. The Final Wars Godzilla won't. Any of the movie graphic figures won't, unless it's 2000. But I think like maybe not 75. It didn't look like it, and it looked like Great Clash didn't. But if they start doing like 2.0s, a 94 2.0 isn't like out of the realm of possibility. I don't think we never got a heat ray, so might as well just be like, instead of doing a movie graphic 94, you could just do a 2.0 94. But then, like, Space Godzilla 2.0, there's a lot of figures they could do 2.0s for. So then that's a whole different thing. So, but I don't think they would do that while they had the movie graphic line going. But never say never. But I hope so. I hope we see this new engineering from 2000 on not just Godzilla's, but just on all future releases. Kind of, I would hope Odo Island would have it infused. It kind of looked like it did a little bit in some areas. The hips look really different and new. The arms, you can't really tell because they were small and they didn't have a sleeve. They don't need a sleeve. So until like we see some photos of the arms being posed, we won't be able to see if there's like a butterfly joint that'll come out with it. I would hope, like I said, 75 looks like it's a completely brand new mold, or at least the torso's been reworked. So I don't think he'll have it. I would want it to have it though, because Showa Godzilla being able to do like poses where the arms come in front instead of being like, just the elbows would be really, really beneficial to posing. But yeah, and then the junior re-release set, no, they won't have it. They're just gonna stay their original figures. But Joey, in short, no news on 75 coming out though. Yeah, so the nice thing about the prototype reveals at Tamashii Nations is sometimes they take a while to come out. Like, I do think we're going to see the junior evolution set, Destroy evolution set, probably next, like within the next 2 or 3 releases. The nice thing about the prototypes we saw with 2000, we saw it with Legion, is that they actually got improved by the time that the promo, opinion, in my opinion, I think they got improved by the time the promos were shot. So they do take feedback at those events. So, maybe that's something, if enough people are like, well, we want the new Godzilla 2000 articulation on for 75, then maybe they might be able to include that. And then the 75 would basically just be a brand new figure all over again. Yeah, of course, Joey. Yeah, good for the wallet, yeah. But yeah, I would guess Godzilla Jr. and them would be next. Because it's gonna be Junior, and it's gonna be the 2 movie graphic figures, Kiryu Goji and GMK Goji. I think they're gonna be the next 3 releases. Because this was a Tamashii Web exclusive, this 04 that's on the screen, it's likely that it's probably going to be the Junior Evolution set next, or something we haven't even seen, which is also very likely. I think they have like 3 or 4 figures, if I'm being honest, hidden, that aren't just in prototype pending licensing approval, that are like ready to go. Like this Godzilla, this 04 was ready to go before Tamashii Nations. We saw this beforehand. So I do think they have a few more things ready for us. Otherwise, it's like I said, Kiryu Goji, GMK Goji. It'd be kind of a little bittersweet to get like 4 movie graphic re-releases in a row. But like when we look at what's coming out, so April it's 54 alone, pending, unless we get a reissue announcement, which is also possible. They could reissue like 72 Godzilla or something as a regular reissue, not as a movie graphic. So April's a lone release, May is a double release, May is 2014 and this Godzilla, so keep that in mind. And then nothing for June so far, but they could do a movie graphic release and let's just say the Junior and Destroy Evolution set. So June's a double again, so 2 double months. And then July is nothing for MonsterArts Godzilla related. It'll be Monster Hunter and Yu-Gi-Oh maybe, or something. They normally do 1 month where there's no Godzilla release, no Gamera release. It's Monster Hunter and or Yu-Gi-Oh. So I could see like July, and then we would just have the event exclusive from San Diego Comic-Con next year. So that would be, the one MonsterArts reveal, but it wouldn't be like a Japanese release. So it's not something that I would be able to pick up in Japan. But then they could also do a movie graphic release on top of that, so at least there's a general going out that month. Or once again, an actual like raw reissue, so we could see Godzilla 72, Godzilla 2000 again, because Japan, those are sold out basically everywhere. So they could save June, July for a reissue for that figure. So technically, they could do a surprise, like Fourth Night Combat Shin could get a reissue. What else? 91 could get a reissue as well if they don't want to jump straight into a movie graphic release. They could do that. And then soon we'll be seeing, movie graphic, our next two. It looks like they're going to always come out in twos, so, or be announced in twos and then basically released in twos. But we'll see. But yeah. I'm very excited for this release. I'm gonna be honest. I love Final Wars Goji. We've had some bittersweet memories with this figure, but like my original was great. I'm liking how this one looks a little bit more darker, gray, or like more of a traditional kind of like charcoal gray Godzilla instead of kind of like the light blue, light gray look that the two versions of this figure I've had before. So I'm excited for that, although I do think this is probably like the look, but when you do a heat ray, a metallic paint, you have a brighter color and then you have a darker color. It just makes it pop more, and the breath effect looks really good. So, but we'll see. I'm very pumped for this release. Like I said, I've got one from Hobby Genki, not sponsored. That's just where I'm going with this one. Hobby Genki is basically going to be my my Tamashii web exclusive. Well, and maybe all of my pre-orders are going to be from Hobby Genki, if because the nice thing with Genki, and similar to Nin Games, is that they both have pay laters, but it's not like Big Bad Toy Store or Ami Ami, HLJ. It's not the same as them where it's, you don't pay until the item arrives. It's, you have a due date and you have to pay it before then. So if Kaiser Belial drops in June, you have to pay it off by June 14th. It's typically what Nin does. With Hobby Genki, it's the month before, so this releases in May, so I have to have it paid off on April 30th, by April 30th Japan time, so technically the 29th, so day before. But I can pay it off any time between now and then. It's just it has a due date, and I really, personally, I think it's better as a collector, as an adult collector, trying to make more responsible choices with purchasing and plan things out more. Like, I have my budget for next year already. Obviously, as things get announced, that expands, and then as I get things paid off, that'll decrease. But I'm trying to make an estimate to how much it is. If you wanted to be like me and Articulation Series and many other MonsterArts collectors out there that buy every release, or at least every new release, so like if you have the original Final Wars, you didn't buy the reissue from this year, and if you had the original -1 like I do, I didn't buy the reissue this year because I didn't deem it necessary. So if you like skip out on raw reissues, but if you buy everything else throughout the year, or mostly everything else, how much it costs to do that. I want to do that, a stream breaking it down, like how really expensive is MonsterArts. Is it really expensive to collect MonsterArts if you're just a dedicated MonsterArts collector? And I actually am considering doing the same for Ultraman, because it's going to be interesting, because the Ultraman are a lot cheaper, but there's also, like, instead of just like one Godzilla a month, it's like sometimes 3 to 5 Ultramen will drop in a month. So even though they're all $40-$50, when you have 4 or 5 of them releasing and you're a new collector, that's $200, $250 right there already. So it's like, is MonsterArts really that more expensive? Now obviously that argument crumbles once you're a dedicated collector, you've been collecting for a few years, and you don't need to buy the 7 Ultra Brothers again when they get it reissues, but, just showing the general for someone starting out, and then I can do, like, oh, here's all the new releases that dropped this year. So, like, 2025, we had a lot of reissues, but we also had a lot of first timers, like Scar King for the US, Shimo, Suko Mothra, Legion, but then we also had Gamera, Burning Godzilla, the -1 Heat Ray technically for the event exclusive, so there was a lot of reissues as well. So I'm gonna, break it down. So, if you only, if you want to see it all broken down, that's kind of the plan I'm doing. I'm still thinking it up, and obviously we have a month and a half to get it done, because then we also, kind of opening the door, spoilers for a few streams to come at the end of the year. We have our top 2025 SH MonsterArts releases for the year for what I buy, which is Gamera and Godzilla. I don't buy Yu-Gi-Oh! And anything else from MonsterArts, so those won't be included, but it'll be the 11 that I bought, which is basically the 11 that released this year, minus the -1 reissue and the Godzilla -1 event exclusive, because I didn't buy that. I will get it next year once they start coming out. Everyone has them in February and March. I'll pick it up. It's also, I believe it's still at the New York store, so I can always, when I have extra money, ask a friend in New York, see if they can go pick it up and ship it out to me as well, which will probably end up being cheaper than buying a middleman online, but you never know. So besides those two, so there's 11 this year, just so you guys know. I'm already mostly through the list. Obviously, I'm missing 3 so far. Missing the Mechagodzilla Final Battle reissue, Suko and Mothra, and we're missing Ghidorah, which releases next week in Japan. I believe it's next Tuesday. Yeah, next Tuesday, so Monday night, or even Sunday night. It might be Sunday night as well, but next Monday, Sunday night, Monday morning, Monday night, we'll be seeing the first in-hand photos for King Ghidorah 72. We'll probably be doing a stream for that. I want to be careful, doing big, like, in-hand reveal photos. It's scary because it's like they're in-hand photos, so it's like, oh, we can get a realistic, look at what this figure looks like. But at the same time, it's like, ooh, I don't want to get any hard conclusions or biasness, whether good or bad, for a figure until it's in my hands either. So I don't want to be like unboxing something and being like, oh, this is going to be garbage because it's going to fall apart, or oh, the eyes aren't good. I want to just open my figure and not let everyone else really worry about me, or worry my opinion on what I'm unboxing, because at the end of the day, the reviews are my opinion. It's not a collection for everyone else. It's for everyone to come in, look at my opinion. I can recommend it, not recommend it, but at the end of the day, it's to just hopefully make your guys' choice of wanting to buy these figures easier. Same thing with this stream, although, I'm still obviously working on it a little bit. These streams are to help you. Should you pre-order? Should you not? Should you wait for Amazon to get these in? Speaking of which, I didn't even check if Amazon has these in yet. I would guess not. Amazon's normally, I don't want to say late because that sounds negative. They just normally get their pre-orders a little bit later than everyone else, which is nice because when they do, if you missed out on something, it's normally available then here on Amazon. So, like, you can still get the shins here, although a lot of the movie graphics have been selling out. They sold out of Evolved, though. Evolved only took a year. It's kind of surprising. They just are selling out on you. Don't spend that much on it. I'm telling you guys, it's going to get a reissue. So it's like with this Heat Ray, should I just wait for Amazon to get it and have a bunch, left over? I mean, you could. They still have Eardus. They don't have Legion. Legion's sold out. Like Anguirus, but like Anguirus isn't going on sale unless it has like a Black Friday sale or a Cyber Monday sale. Same thing with this Mechagodzilla and Suko and Mothra. These probably aren't going to go on sale unless they're on the yearly sale. So, that's kind of what I want to help you guys decide. So I like to break it down fully, do like an hour stream on these. Um, just it's another opinion. My opinion isn't like absolute or the opinion. It's just another opinion. So that when you go to Articulation Series or Figure Mania or Shinrob or Steven or Diego Doom or any of the wonderfully amazing SH Monster Arts collectors and, reviewers on the YouTube sphere, you know, if you're kind of like me where you'll have your own opinion, but then there's also looking at, well, I might really like this figure, but then what is everyone else saying about it? Looking at the general, when we can get sales like from the people that are, sometimes get let known on how sales are, like did -1 sell really well? Did Legion sell really well? Did Shimo sell really well? Those are the things I like to also incorporate. So I like statistics on it. I like seeing the statistics of what everyone else is saying, which is kind of hard to do with Monster Arts because there's a lot of loud people that never buy these figures and hate on them, and try to pretend they're the gospel on it sometimes. Um, so you gotta work through that too. Oh, Joey, I'm really new to the SH Monster Arts line. I'm a hardcore Marvel Star Wars guy. Nice. So I'm enjoying it, trying to be intentional in collecting, getting my favorites 54, 64, 80, 90, 95, 00, or 2000, 01, Shin -1. Nice. And hey, there's nothing wrong with not, wanting to buy every Monster Arts release. In fact, I would say that's the best way to do Monster Arts. It's when you start doing what I'm doing and what like the hardcore collectors or reviewers or content creators are doing, where we're all going in and getting every release, that I feel like it's easy to get burned out. I do the same with Dragon Ball or even with Ultraman this year when I was trying to get caught up in everything. I'm trying to get everything and it burns me out or it hurts me, where it's like Monster Arts, it's like I did that, but I also had a lot of fortunate times this year to where it's like, oh, I'm just going hungry for 2 weeks, or oh, bills can be taken care of and then I'll pay some back later. So like with Legion, like I've been honest, like I, you know, basically for a month I didn't eat too much outside of like at home food and the food that we cooked and Larissa bought and cooked, and teaching me how to cook and stuff. You know, her and I, besides that food, so like no fast food, no snacks, not even like a pop at the gas station, stuff like that, which, a lot of people do anyways, but I was serious on trying to make sure that I had enough for Legion, because I figured what has now happened where everyone's like, oh, Legion's not going to be popular. It's going to be on Amazon for $300 in 3 years. Well, actually, it was completely made to order. So, it's gone. Like, they're just gone now, besides like Entertainment Earth. So, like, I don't regret that purchase. I don't regret, Alex just said it. You got to do what you need to do. I don't need these toys, but if I really want them and I really want them in my collection, or I fear the fear of missing out, you do what you got to do, Work some extra time, eat a little less, which works anyways because I'm trying to cut throughout the year. Oh, and Rose, Godzilla with a lot of hearts. Yes, yes, yes. We love Godzilla here. I've gone through the buy, sell, regret, buy again. Yeah, same. I've done that actually a few times already. I've done it with the Ultraman line. I've done it with the SH Figure Arts Ultraman line, the SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball line. We just did that this year, actually. If I would have waited, I would have actually been able to probably be a little bit more financially stable right now and actually been able to buy them back and not have to worry about selling them. But again, for a second time or a third time for some of them, it just is what it is, though. I really try and make sure whatever I get, I don't have a single regret. Yeah, and that's the best way to do it, Alex, is and that's the best way with Monster Arts is, besides Legion, all of these are made in like mass. They say they're made to order, but like Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon JP, the Godzilla store will buy a ton of extra for these. Destroya selling out multiple times is because these places are ordering them because people want them. Destroya's an insanely popular release. Probably at the end of the day, probably going to be one of the most popular and most profit margin yielding figures for Tamashii would probably be Destroya. You know, it sells out every time there's a pre-order for it. You know, English and JP. Regardless of how more expensive it is. You know. Now this time, then, you know, considering the finances and the state of the economy in the U.S. is in right now, obviously U.S. side, Destroya isn't sold out, but Destroya is also very expensive. Even if you're importing it from Japan, Destroya is very expensive. So, you know, it's been 10 years since the last reissue, or almost 10 years since Special Color Destroya. So obviously, from the first release Destroya to the Special Color version, there wasn't many years of inflation or anything. Where like the Godzilla license has changed since Special Color version, because Shin wasn't even out when that Destroya released. You know, just 14. So it didn't get the Shin popularity and the -1 and Legendary and all that stuff. So like that's why it seems like such a big gap when they do these like 10 years. So like if they were to do another Batra Mothra set, even if it was the larva again, I think they were like $80-$90 when they were announced, excuse me, in the very beginning when they first came out. Now they'd probably be $200. You know, it's why Mega Gearus is $200 now, because if she would have been released way in the beginning of the line, she would have been a cheaper. But it's just what, you know, the current cost and license, and you know, there is some price gouge because we are paying for Tamashii. I'm not going to sit there and deny that Tamashii probably adds a little bit of premium on there, you know, just for being Tamashii. You know, I'm not gonna deny that. So I love Godzilla, Kaijuzilla, Godzilla Skrionk, yeah, Kaijuzilla. We love Godzilla here too. Honestly, I learned to enjoy figures from other collections instead of just trying to spend all our essential money. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about, like, you know, a lot of the X Plus Bandai's, a lot of Safubi now. Like, I just don't really feel like I need it. MonsterArts, it's a need, but I also like photography. I like taking photos, you know, more than this channel ever sees. There's so many photos that I have that I just don't even open, you know, like I just don't show. They're just for me, you know, my figures or test shots. So like there's a lot of the photo drop I did the other day of Legion. There's like another 30 photos behind that. You know, one of the photos went through 8 variations before I got it to its final photo that was in that post, you know, and then there's different angles, different lighting. I went and did a mono collection, so all my favorite photos I made mono versions of, or if they looked better in a black noir filter, I did that instead. So whatever worked best, and that was all lighting and angle dependent. So I got a lot of those that I don't post, but I'm thinking about dropping the mono ones in like big collections, because I realize, like, as I'm getting older, I've talked about it, you know, so it's not a sob story. I'm just saying this because obviously I'm a reviewer, and seeing colors on figures and being able to tell the difference is important. In a few years, possibly, you know, I'm going to be able to do that less and less because I'm getting more and more colorblind as I get older. It's something in my family, you know, I got from my grandfather. It happens. It's okay. I've known this since I knew my grandfather was colorblind, and I've known that for, you know, I'm 28, so 20 years. You know, it's just a life expected. It's an expected thing, so it's not like a boohoo sad thing. So it's kind of why, like, with reviews, I get really picky about, like, lighting and stuff and showing off the best colors, because eventually I'm not going to be able to see it. You know, I'm going to need help with that. So, but, what the hell was the point I was trying to make? So the point is, I like doing the mono photos because, one, I just like the aesthetic of black and white anyways. Or, you know, black noir, or ortho is technically a different filter. It's not on the iPhone, but it is technically different. That's why it's Shin orthochromatic, not like Shin, you know, minus color or anything. One, because of the naming scheme, but two, because ortho is a different variation of that as well. So, but I like taking those photos, so I thought about doing like big drops of those. So rather than like doing 2 separate posts of being like, here's the regular photos and then here's the mono photos, or, you know, the black and white photos or the grayscale, it would be, you know, a ton of different photos in grayscale and just do it. So it would be like multiple figures worth. So I'd do all my Legion ones, all my Godzilla 2000 ones, all my King Ghidorah 72, excuse me, you know, stuff like that. Stuff like that. That would be like how I'm thinking about doing it. And that way I'm also not posting like basically the same thing back to back, you know. Or I could use them as like filler, drop one or two every now and then, you know. Joey, will they ever do a 73? I mean, they're doing a 75 and they've done a 72, which I know 72 technically counts for 71 and 69 and 68, but the fact that they named it 72 and they included a 72 exclusive accessory tells me that they're probably going to do a 71 at some point whenever they want to reissue that mold, but they also want to make extra money on it. So they might do a 71 version with a hopefully different, well, the different accessories, hopefully the hands, the bad eye, and then maybe something else as well, you know. So I could see them doing a 73 if there's enough. There has to be enough request for a 73 for us to get a 73. That's why they're doing 75 over 74. Japan really wanted a 75 more than they wanted a 74. So we got a 75 Godzilla instead of 74. But they'll eventually do a 74 as well. So with a different head sculpt. I mean it, Tamashii. Don't screw me out on that. Don't mess with my 70s boys like that. And then same thing with 73, where it's basically that same 70s 70. It's basically the 72 and the 74 together, but then a completely different head. And then, you know, you've got the hand with the tree. You've got the tree in the mouth like it's a, you know, like a pipe. You've got, oh yeah, I guess that's really it. Or you could do like one that's got like a orange paint to make it look like it's surrounded by fire. You know, you could do weird stuff with 73. So we'll see what they do. On the same way, Sofubi Bandai, I basically don't even think about buying, even if I say I'm grabbing 95. Yeah. And that's how I've been getting Alex's, like, so many things that I pre-order, you know, the last few years, and then it's like, oh, I've been putting myself in so much financial stress. And it's just like, what do I really want, and what can I live through my friends, or I can just risk picking up in Japan, you know, when I go next year. It's like, what can I wait to get? Now, obviously, MonsterArts is the mainstay of my channel. MonsterArts will, when it comes to content for the channel, MonsterArts will always come first. This isn't something that's going to switch. This is permanent. This is something I'm gonna, you know, MonsterArts, when it was announced way back when, and when it was revealed in 2011, and when they dropped in 2011, blew my mind in a way no Godzilla figure ever did. It's exactly what I wanted from Godzilla. Now, obviously, the starting product wasn't necessarily exactly what I wanted, because this wasn't like a Godzilla that I could go and do Godzilla Unleashed and, you know, destroy all monsters melee or save the earth poses. As you can see, that especially this first Godzilla, very, very basic. These were made initially to pose like the suits, so these figures could do no more posing than the suits, and then over time, and then they sometimes threw in things like this, so you could do the aquatic scene, so you didn't need like a prop version of the figure. So like you can see, this doesn't pose necessarily the best. It's not bad, but even by today's standard, like Godzilla 2000 can do things that the suit can't do, you know, and that's what the line has evolved into, and I agree with people that that is the best way to do this figure. Is that's the best way to do it. Yeah, man. These first few releases, crazy. Yeah, 2011. I remember when both these guys dropped. But since 2011, this line has captivated me time and time again. Oh, remember Ansel Adams? Yes, I do, Joey. I do. I am familiar. I'm not the best with names. I'm better with faces, so I do apologize, like, name-wise, if someone's renamed and then they're asked me if I remember. I do vaguely remember an Ansel Adams in the chat, so that is at a few points in time. So yes, I do, Joey. With MonsterArts, like I was saying, and we're kind of getting to the end of the stream too, so I'm starting to ramble. So I'll try to make this point quick. This line has captivated me since the very beginning, since this figure came out. Now, obviously, $70, $80 toys back then was really hard. It took me a while to get my first MonsterArts. It took me almost a year. I had to wait till Mechagodzilla was $50, I think, on Amazon. But I did get it. And then at G-Fest 2013 would be the year that I would actually get a few MonsterArts. We'd get 4 MonsterArts at G-Fest. You know, the first real year that MonsterArts was like, maybe there was some in 2011. Or 2012, excuse me. I didn't go in 2012, so I don't know for sure. But I would guess there was probably a few of Space Godzilla and these two. Right, yeah. So they probably would have been there 83. Holy moly. I want to talk about a figure really quick that really changed from the promos to the final figure. This guy, something about the paint. He did not look quite that ferocious. I don't know. Not in a bad way, of course. You can kind of see it like on the newer version. It doesn't look quite that sharp. So, man, yeah. So it's like MonsterArts has captivated me since the beginning, and it has always been my swan song. Even when I sold them all and I regretted it, there was obviously some I still don't regret. Some that once we get to the point where it's like, oh, we're caught up with having an individual of every single kaiju that's released. Now let's start the completion arc where we go back and get our 2 different variations of Space Godzilla and the original Mogera and the original 91 and the original Burning Godzilla and Ultimate Burning and original Destroy and Special Color Version Destroy and Biollante and Kiryu. And the evolution set, oh my god, and the batch run. Once we eventually get there, which is going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time. Because next year, I'm not going to have, you know, a large budget to buy, you know, aftermarket MonsterArts. Like, obviously, if I see a deal, I will. But what I get in Japan is basically like it. Because then after that, it's going to be recovering from Japan. And then there's a chance that I might be going to, like, Decon, or maybe there will be a Slipknot concert that I'm going to, so something that isn't collection-focused, or just keeping up with pre-order budgets, you know, keeping up with these MonsterArts releases. You know, I might not have a lot of extra money, so this is going to take, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, unless I win the lottery, and then, in which case I'm just going and buying back everything. You know, hey, Goji the Boy 202, how's it going? You know, but like eventually we'll get back to that point where it's going back and buying every release, you know, doubles or triples or whatever, even fourths, you know, by that time, you know, for some of these releases, you never know. Once we get to the completest point, then we will. But for now, just trying to get the optimal version. So I'm not going for both 2019 Ghidorahs. I'm just going for this one, you know, right now. Eventually I'll have to buy this, but I don't look forward to getting this one. I don't miss the original 2019 Ghidorah. I miss the sculpt, but I want it on the new paint apps. Excuse me. So, you know, don't really need the original Destroyer. You know, the newest one I think is the best one, and this one would just be because, you know, I miss my sold one, just to basically have that memory back, you know. But, like, otherwise, you know, that's just more for me, rather than, like, filling a hole in the collection, or, like, you know, technically this Space Godzilla and the newest one fit together because it's like this is a fully charged one, the other one's damaged, where this third one is just like an extra Space Godzilla, you know. It's just a slot in the collection. One I'm going to appreciate and love, of course, unless once I start getting to that point I don't feel like that's how I want to collect MonsterArts. If I get to the point where I'm starting to get that way and I don't like the vibe of doing that, then I won't do that. It's just right now I do like the vibe of being like, eventually one day I will have every single release of MonsterArts. You know, every base release. I might not have every, like, hard reissue, but I'll have the different named versions of every character. So I'll have the original 54, poster 54, movie graphic 54. Who knows what type of 54 they might do in the future. They might not either. You know, they might just start re-releasing these 3 over and over again. Is the recent SDCC exclusive worth it to you? Only if you don't have... Where are you? Only if you don't have this version. Now, this obviously never came to the US, this version of it. This is the Heat Ray version. This is the Tamashii Nation's 2004 event exclusive. I'm sorry if I clicked on something and it's starting to roar randomly. I apologize. I can't hear it through my speakers, so maybe these have been roaring while I've been sitting here clicking. I do apologize. This one has the heat ray, like the event exclusive, but it also has the Shinden. The Shinden is not included with the duplicate. Not with the heat ray version. So the heat ray version, the event exclusive, the US event exclusive, I should say. Which this was a big surprise to me. I did not predict this. You know, it's basically just this, and then they are the same colors. So like, there's a little bit of paint difference, but I believe the only thing that's notable is the blues. I think a little bit lighter on the US one. So it's like, if you don't have the Tamashii Nation's version, the Japanese release, absolutely. I think anyone who kind of wants it should get this, because eventually this is going to be a hot release in the future. Eventually I will get this. Like, that's filling a hole in the collection, but just not right away. You know, I'm not too worried about it. But if you have the money and you want to spend the extra coin on it, once again, you can get this. This does have the Shinden. That is the only difference besides whatever factory run paint differences there are. Which I think the body paint is actually really spot on between the two. They're pretty close. And then just the blues are a little different. So if the Shinden's worth it, you know, of course, it's pretty expensive to import, and then you have to import it, so you're spending more in shipping. There might be a tariff cost. So, you know, it probably, I would just say go with the event exclusive. But if you're kind of like me and you want to have every accessory available, even though this is a minor one, it does look much better than this in person. But still, that makes it look like it's 3D printed. I don't believe it's 3D printed. It feels like it's an actual plastic mold for the actual release, but you know, you can do that. Yep, and there's the second run for the February. So yeah, these come out in February. They're 160 though, so that's kind of why I'm like, also kind of like a little hesitant, because it's an extra $30 or $20 from the original release. So I do want to point out here really quick, I want to thank the Articulation series featuring MonsterArts website, again, for information, breaking down he makes this so easy, because I can just click in and then go to a page. Not eBay. Go on a page like this, let it load, and I can get basically what they used, and then a lot of the times, at least a variant, if there's multiple variants, they'll say this was sculpted by Yuji, this was sculpted by this, you know, this sculptor. You know, I didn't know that this Ghidorah right here, 2019, let's see, is it this one or the, yeah, I didn't remember that this was Shinichi Wakasa. I didn't know this was Wakasa sculpt. I completely forgot about that. So like, this website has been just a wonderful library of knowledge for the line, for me personally. So thanks to him for setting up such a wonderful website, having a wonderful YouTube channel, you know, breaking down things honestly and non-biasedly, with MonsterArts, you know, telling you guys, you know, breaking the news yesterday that the 290 wasn't permanent, you know, which is still, you know, everything about that situation kind of still a little shocking, because it's like, it was only $200 for me to import, so like, that's a lot of you know, minus the tariff. But like I said, that should only be like 10 or 15%, so that should at max be no more than $25, maybe 30. So like, 230, so then they tacked on an extra, well, $60 in profit, yeah, for every single one. But like, it's just a markup. It was a hell of a markup, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So thanks to him, you know, got it through. I saw a lot of people posting it, even like non-MonsterArts collectors. I saw a lot of people that posted the 300 that were like, here, I was wrong, here's the actual MSRP. You know, there's still plenty of people that said that's still a little too much, which, once again, fair. If you want to say it's, you know, the Gotengo and the heat ray and the paint job isn't worth the extra $90, that's valid. I'm not going to argue with anyone on that. I think that's completely fair to have that idea, you know, in that opinion. I don't think it's as bad as some people are still kind of acting like it is, especially because once again it's a Gotengo. But at the same time, like, does this Gotengo's, does the drill spin? Doesn't look like it. Obviously, it doesn't say anything in the solicitation that I've read, at least so far. So maybe there is more to find out, which we'll see. I don't believe the articulation series is done. He normally does like a dedicated stream um, on each release. So like he did one for each of the movie graphics that have like a lot of extra info in it. So I'm interested to see if there's something in the Japanese solicitation for this, for like the interviews and stuff. If they're gonna say if the drill spins or not. Once again, I'm not expecting the drill to spin. It's not shown or at least stated in the US stuff, so I would say it's realistic to expect it not to be there. So probably don't get your hopes up, but you never know. Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess it's kind of it. I feel like I've kind of sung my song on this. Hopefully it all made sense. Um, I guess to sum everything up, do I recommend getting this figure? I would say if you're a Final Wars collector, if Final Wars is one of your favorite designs, absolutely. I think the Gotengo's worth it, or you're a Final Wars fan. If you want to eventually have as many of the Final Wars Godzillas as you can, or you just really like the MonsterArts Final Wars line. Um, Gigan's really good, but MonsterArts here or there, and you're excited for a Kaiser, and then hopefully that means they might bring some of the other kaiju. I would say this is a staple. I would get it. How many Heat Ray Final Wars Godzillas are there? I don't think X Plus has done a red colored Heat Ray. Bandai hasn't, at least in the traditional sense. Of the final scene 7-Eleven exclusive, but that's not like a Heat Ray version. That one's a complete translucent Safubi, and I don't even think many Safubis has done that paint scheme. So this is like kind of almost a first, just for it to directly be the red spiral. Obviously, once again, it's because it kind of feels like Kaiser's probably going to be revealed at some point in the next year and a half. Maybe by the time this guy's coming out in May, that's when we'll see Kaiser. I would set Kaiser up for September or October for Japan for a release. So, we'll see. It's possible. It's basically what they just did with Godzilla 2000 and Megaguirus. They announced Godzilla at Tamashii Nations. Godzilla's pre-order is announced a few months later, and then comes out in September. And then Megaguirus is revealed in October. I'm just saying. Tamashii works in ways. I wouldn't be surprised if 75 is the same. It was kind of why when 96 Gamera was revealed, it was kind of, it was a little curious, if Legion was coming, and Legion eventually happened. 30th anniversary for Destroya, Burning Godzilla finally happened, and then it was like, well, we're just waiting on Destroya. Destroya happened, and now Junior and Evolution set is happening. So it's like, they don't always work in waves. They don't always work in sequel releases or pairing releases. Not always. So like this Mechagodzilla 2021, I don't think we're getting like another 2021 Godzilla or a Kong. Now I could be wrong. It's probably not likely. But then like we got the whole 72 movie, and now it really seems like for Showa the next Showa releases are going to be the 375 figures now, whether they stretch that over 3 years or not, I don't know. Technically 4 years for some people, because if 72 was 23, beginning of 23, no, not 4 years, 2 years, 24 last year. Never mind. Okay, so it's only been 2 years, because technically some people won't get their 72 Ghidorah until 2026. Most people aren't going to get it till 2026, unless you're basically in California because of all the New Year's craze. So, some people would be 2 years then, technically. Not 4. That was a very bad overestimate, bad guesstimate. So, which I do normally tend to guess higher. That way I can be impressed when it's not actually that way. So I'm actually impressed that they finished 72 in 2 years. So now is it only going to be 2 years for one less figure with Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus? Once 75 actually is announced and up for pre-order. Of course, the timer doesn't start until they're actually announced. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, we're in a different spot. Final Wars has always kind of been like in these, you know, partner releases. You know, Gaigan was announced randomly for reissue, Decisive Battle version down here, right here where my mouse is. And then it was clear that Final Wars was cut out of the solicitation. And then we were revealed that right as he was gearing up to come out, like in the final 2 months or so, Monster X was shown off and then put up for pre-order. So they do these in waves. 99 Gamera reissue with a new head sculpt because people complained about it enough and they wanted a new head sculpt. They went and upgraded it. Iris was shortly after. Gaigan was a solo release. Gaigan must have done well enough because then 72 happened and then Anguirus and now Ghidorah. You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to sound like too pompous about it, but a lot of the releases do end up being pairs. You can't guarantee that they always will work like that, but typically they do. So it seems like the movie graphics are going to be random, and then we will have a few random releases throughout the year, which are probably going to be, you know, decisive battle versions, final battle versions, like Mechagodzilla, which I think is a random release, although he does have a kind of different background. You know, he has more of the Yu-Gi-Oh background and movie graphic plus background. So maybe there is something more with the 2021 releases. I don't know what they could do unless they're going to release Godzilla 2021 and it's going to be a brand new sculpt. They could do that, like a decisive final or a final battle Godzilla, and it's a brand new sculpt and it's base. You know, it doesn't have the blue dorsal plates. They could do that. That would be kind of insane, actually, but I don't expect that. So, you know, but they surprised me. Final Wars, you know. So, just saying, we could in the next year see a decisive battle Monster X, another Gaigan release, or a Kaiser, or something else. You know, Final Wars Rodan, Anguirus, Kaiser, you know, King Caesar, Zilla, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, just be on the lookout. I do think this is worth it. All that to say, to sum up the point that I made at the very beginning of this ramble, if you're a Final Wars collector, I do think it is important. I do think this is maybe a sign, maybe, but not guaranteed, maybe a sign that we might be getting more Final Wars again. It has been quite a while since we started our 70, you know, our Final Wars kick, and now that the 72 line is ending, we kind of do need a movie, and the Destroya movie line is kind of ending. Another big movie with multiple releases coming could be in the works for the next 2 years. Kaiser, Final Wars, Godzilla, Monster X, Gaigan works, Mothra, you know, stuff like that could work. So we'll see. That's about it for me, though. I want to thank everyone for watching and hanging out on stream. Let's see, we got up to 5 people at some point, and there's still 2 of you listening to me ramble. So I really appreciate that, everyone. It's always fun hanging out. It's been kind of a quiet last week and a half since Godzilla Fest and Tamashii Nation. So, we'll be picking it up. Legion review, like I said, likely this weekend. We'll start working on it hopefully tomorrow afternoon, getting a little closer, and then Thursday hopefully can finish it, and then we can do the editing all of Friday morning and Friday afternoon and post it like maybe Saturday or something. So I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank everyone who commented in chat: James, Joey, and Alex, Kaijuzilla. Thank you guys for stopping in and hanging out. Goji, the boys, 2002 ? Thank you guys for hanging out, and not double ellipses, I guess, maybe, since is that 6 dots? I think that's 6 dots. Goji, the boys, 02 is what I'll sum it up to. Thanks everyone for chatting and hanging out. We'll see you guys with the next one. Like I said, live stream Legion next. We might do another short. We'll see. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful night.